Hi, atop Peak 8 in beautiful Breckenridge, Colorado. Welcome to ESPN's coverage of the Bud Mogul Tour. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. We've got another gorgeous Rocky Mountain day for stop number 2 on the tour. I'm joined by Park Smalley, and Park, as a former freestyle coach, you know all about the relationship between the community of Breckenridge and mogul skiing.
And what a great relationship it's been, Tim. You know, 9 years ago, Breckenridge hosted the first World Cup competition here in the U.S. and the first in a long time, at a time probably that freestyle was under a little bit of scrutiny. So they've been a great supporter. In addition to that, now they've started a junior freestyle program, which incorporates all the younger kids as they move up the ranks. And as a matter of fact, you're going to see some of those junior skiers making their pro debut right here in Breckenridge.
Okay, now you have to go back even further than that. 1971 is when mogul skiing actually began. The likes of Susie Chaffee and Wayne Wong, even renegades such as Park Smalley there at the beginning. But Park, boy, has this sport changed.
It sure has. I think the renegade thing, the hot dog era, is now all a thing of the past. And what they've come up with now is some very highly motivated, very dedicated, and really focused athletes. And they're all focused today on that big pot of cash.
They will also be focusing on a very challenging course. Solitude
here at Breckenridge measures 45 feet in width, approximately 810 feet in length. But I think the most important or exciting fact about this is it sits 11,465 feet above sea level. That's a long ways up, and maybe the need for a little bit of oxygen. But I don't think it's going to slow down the show or the competition of today's Bud Mogul Tour.
Welcome back to the Bud Mogul Tour. Tim Singer along with Park Smalley will get to the quarterfinals in a moment. But first, a look at some early round action on the Solitude course. 86 skiers began the day in hopes of a title. During the round of 32, Marc the Flying Frenchman Dufour learned that in order to win, you need talent and concentration, but Marc, you also need both skis. Dufour, one of the tour's most consistent skiers, delighted the crowd, but got an early exit. Some big stories during the round of 16. First-year thrill-seeker Justin Patnode helicoptered his way to a win over Kevin Brown. Another newcomer, Brad Holmes, fresh from the World Cup circuit, outdueled 5-time Tour champ Scott Koch. Promising youngster Todd Deemer found himself in the quarterfinals when the favored Chris Carson took this nasty spill. And as expected, Tour frontrunner Cameron Boyle has positioned himself for another win, despite some tough early duels. So the brackets look like this. Cameron Boyle will go up against unseeded Dan McCarthy. Then Patnode takes on another non-seed, Bob Dickey. Dave Hill will face Bradley Holmes. And Todd Deemer and Scott Rawls round out the quarterfinal draw. And we're back and set for the action on the hill. The top seed, Cameron Boyle, 2-time defending Tour champ, on the blue course. He skis for the Spider team. He's going up against Dan Fleetwood McCarthy from Vail. For Cameron Boyle, a 5-race winning streak is on the line.
It sure is, Tim. An interesting fact about this course, it's almost 32 to 33 degrees on the top of the course. Plus, there's about a 6-foot free fall into that first bump. So the top part of this course is so technical. The skier has to ski extremely smart through that first air, and then he'll be able to put the accelerator down. Let's watch him go. Big spread eagle by Cameron Boyle there. Nice jump off the top. He's a very consistent skier.
Cameron has had some tough duels heading into this quarterfinals, but he looks like he has the edge right now as he approaches the second jump. And a great move.
Daffy Twister. He'd been doing a Daffy Twister spread earlier, so he may have backed off a little bit for this quarterfinal round.
And the scores are in, and Cameron Boyle, who saves his best for when it matters, moves on to the semifinals.
As we take a look here at the first jump, you can see here as he gets dropped in the hole right before the takeoff, his head and shoulders drop, which makes me believe he probably lost the visual on the end of the jump, puts him a little bit back on that takeoff, and comes through with even an across tip position, landing in the back seat and having to hustle get back over the top of his feet again. Further down the course, as Cameron approaches his second jump, it looks to me he's thinking too much about execution and not enough about takeoff. As he gets off the jump here, you can see here as he starts into the Daffy before he gets fully extended, and in fact affects the execution when he's in the air.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most exciting newcomers on this tour, 25-year-old Justin Patnode, originally from Stowe, Vermont, now lives here in Breckenridge. He's on the left, the blue course. He'll be going up against Bob Dickey, and Justin is something you have to see to believe.
Absolutely, Tim. He's always just slightly on the edge, but he's so quick from side to side and able to scoot his feet back underneath him in a trouble spot. So he handles it in what looks like an almost out-of-control position and still able to maintain ski-to-snow contact. Let's watch Bob Dickey as well on the right. He's a good skier, very good aerialist, nice tip drop spread. You don't see that very often in that top part of the course.
Excuse me, Park, the patented Patnode helicopter up top. He is lagging behind, though.
Little trouble there. You might have seen he just barely crossed the center line. That may oh, goes for the 720.
720. He makes the gamble, takes the gamble with the double helicopter. It does not pay off, but Justin Patnode puts on a great show. However, Bob Dickey is the one that will advance to the semifinals. The crowd loving the move by Patnode despite the loss.
You take a look right here where I think that Justin just slightly crosses that center line. That's got to be on his mind going into his next jump, if in fact he has been disqualified from that. And look at right there, he breaks out all the stops and goes for the biggest maneuver, the biggest difficulty, a 720, and loses a ski. What a competitor.
Red course ready.
No.
Blue course ready. Racers ready.
They call Holmes Bad Rad Bumpin' Brad. We'll see how he bumps.
Some trouble there for Dave Hill from the top. As I mentioned, getting in that first air is a technical part of the course. These guys skied head-to-head last week, and I'm sure Brad Holmes is out for some revenge at this point.
Hill takes the jump with the double maneuver. A big spread by Holmes, but he wipes out, and again, it will be Hill winning this duel. Hill beat Holmes last week in Telluride, and it looks like, again, he will advance pending the judges' score. And the scores are in. Dave Hill decisively advances to the semifinals.
As they come into the second jump, here's a prime example of what happens in dual competition. You can see Dave gets slightly ahead. Brad takes a look at it, goes for the big jump, and unfortunately loses it and is out of the race.
Rounding out the quarterfinals, we have a pair of White Stag teammates. 27-year-old Maine resident Todd Deemer on the blue course going up against the veteran Scott Rawls from Breckenridge, Colorado. The 32-year-old Rawls finished second last week. He is skiing great.
He sure is, Tim. His experience is really starting to pay off for him. He keeps his head together, he skis his own game, and doesn't let the guy next door affect his performance.
Out of the gate.
You know, the camera is just a little bit deceiving here today, Tim. These bumps are actually 5 to 6 feet tall. To give the folks at home an idea just how tall that is, try skiing over a bunch of Volkswagen Bugs sometime and see how well you can handle it.
Well, we have a great duel going on. Deemer and Rawls, neck and neck, as they say. Their maneuvers at the bottom.
You can see Rawls had some trouble in that last air. Air is not his forte. He makes up for his turns in line. Let's watch the judges.
And his speed as Rawls goes across the line first. It will be a close score. And by the skin of his teeth, a 13-12 score, Scott Rawls will advance to the semifinals. So the semifinal brackets are set. The top 3 seeds will be on hand with the surprise newcomer. Cameron Boyle takes on the unseeded Bob Dickey. Then it's Dave Hill against Scott Rawls. Welcome back to Breckenridge, Colorado, and we're set now for the semifinals of the Bud Pro Mogul Tour. On the left, blue course, unseeded Bob Double Trick Dickey going up against Tour champion Cameron Boyle. Cameron is right where he wants to be. He struggled early, Park, but the champion is now skiing like he is a champion.
Mr. Consistency, there's no doubt about it. I think an interesting fact, though, remember, they're skiing at 11,000 feet, so these guys have got to remember to breathe throughout the entire course, which, believe it or not, in the heat of motion, a lot of times, people will forget to.
Both with double maneuvers atop. It is Boyle with the lead on the right course.
Bob Dickey skiing well, though, keeping a good tight package, but Cameron is slightly out in front. Big spread twister, and Bob fires right back with a nice big jump himself.
And Cameron Boyle crosses the finish line first. He said he was a little nervous entering this event because he won last week. No one who has ever won the opening event has gone on to win the tour. Only time will tell on that, but we see the judges' scores. And Cameron Boyle once again moves into the championship.
Cameron's consistency once again wins that duel from him, but you've got to give Bob credit for pulling out all the stops and going for a very courageous triple Daffy in a difficult course.
And Boyle set to take on the winner of this duel. Two great skiers, Park Smalley, Dave Hill, last year's tour runner-up. He's on the red course, and Scott Rawls on the blue course, who finished second to Boyle last week in Telluride.
Should be a very good matchup. Once again, these guys are no strangers to each other. They've been in this course several times together, and I think they're going to be very interested to see how it comes out on top today. Notice once again that the start gates are back in place. The skier comes blasting out about a 6-foot drop into that first bump. Let's watch the top section. Little back there on the side from Dave Hill, but off to a good spread. Good solid landing. 4-point, hands out in front, right back into his rhythm.
Both skiing brilliantly.
This is a tight race, Tim. Scott off with a twister spread, not real good execution on that, and also Dave Hill got bucked on his attempt at a double daffy.
So Hill, with just one maneuver down on the second jump, may fall victim to Scott Rawls. And White Stags Scott Rawls has won the semifinal duel against Dave Hill, setting up a rematch of last year's championship, Cameron Boyle against Scott Rawls here in the final at Breckenridge.
I think up until this point, Dave was leading the race, but watch here as he approaches the second jump. He's carrying an excessive amount of speed, which causes him to lose the focus on the end of the jump and get buckled in the transition. I believe that jump should have been a double daffy, but ended up only being a single and probably cost him the race.
And you're looking at Cameron Boyle. He's won 5 straight events representing the Spider team. He says Telluride was his toughest competition ever, but last week he defeated Scott Rawls, and that's who he's facing again for the championship here in Breckenridge. Scott Rawls on the red course.
And Scott, of course, has got his hometown crowd here cheering for him, so that's got to be a step in the right direction or in his course. But Cameron is just so consistent that he's going to be a tough one to beat.
Out of the gate, the first jump upcoming.
You can see the shadows starting to take effect in the course a little bit, which might hinder their vision just some. Scott Rawls a little black in that landing right there.
The double maneuver by Boyle up front, who's skiing well, both in control.
Turn for turn, they're doing very well. Big jump, daffy twister spread, a little trouble on Scott Rawls' landing. It's going to come down to the end.
The triple maneuver by Cameron Boyle. He is pumped as they give each other the high five. The judges are upcoming with the score of who will be the champion of Breckenridge. And the two competitors together on your right, Cameron Boyle again has won a championship, his second this season, his 6th in a row. The question as this tour continues will be, can anyone stop Cameron Boyle?
I just can't say enough about Cameron's consistency. I coached him as a member of the World Cup team, and he was never able to put down run after run as he's done here the last 2 weeks. I just can't help but think that if he was still a member of the team, if in fact he would be in contention for that gold medal in Albertville.
So a look at the final standings here in Breckenridge. Once again, he does it. Cameron Hollywood Boyle skis away with the championship, followed again by Scott Rawls. Dave Hill finishes 3rd, and a rest of the top finishers here in Breckenridge. The story once again, though, Cameron Boyle, and Park Smalley is standing by with the champ.
Thanks, Tim. Today's champion, Cameron Boyle. Cameron, we talked last week, this is 2 in a row now. A little bit of concern from you because if the guy that wins the first one doesn't necessarily end up on the top in the end. Can it be a Cameron sweep this year?
I don't think it'll be a sweep. I'm just trying my best every time I come out here. I was very lucky to make it as far as I did today. There was a controversial run in the round of 64 today against Brian McGrath. It turned over to going to my side, and after that I had a real close one after that, and just take them one at a time. That's all you can do, and hopefully you come out on top.
How difficult is it to ski at 11,000 feet?
It's tough. It's tough to catch your breath up here. It's really tough. We'll be heading back east now. We got a 2-week break for Christmas, and then we'll be back on the East Coast, Sunday River, so it should be a little bit easier to breathe back there.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Park.